Hello everybody and welcome back to IOTA Poet. That's right, we're back in the house and we're back with a new video. Yeah, that's right, it has been a while, I know guys. But I tell you what, today we're going to blow the bloody doors off this video because, yeah, there's going to be no script today. It's a bit of a unique one for my channel where I'm just going to be here, I'm back. I want to catch up with you guys, you know, what my thoughts are currently with IOTA. Sometimes being away, it sharpens your mind and you realize, you know, this isn't a job. And the whole reason I created this channel was to go through the highs and lows, because anyone that holds crypto, not just people in IOTA, but any crypto hodlers, there's highs and lows. And to be honest, if anything, there's more lows than highs. There's usually only a sort of every 4 years, a 2-month period where there's a massive pump and it's the greatest thing ever. But for the rest of the 3.5-4 years, it's usually either crabbing or dipping. So I think it would be remiss for me just to constantly post hopium. And, you know, this channel isn't about shirking the big topics or the hard topics that we need to discuss in the community. Because otherwise, what's the point, you know? We might as well do this properly if we're going to do it. So, you know, if you do disagree with any of my comments in this video, please do drop a comment below and I'll read every single comment. And look, you may change my mind. You know, I've got an open mind to everything. And maybe there's some things I'm not aware of. Maybe there's some things you're not aware of. And that's what this video is for, is just to get discussions going on key topics about IOTA and how we can get back into the top 20 again. So yeah, anyways, get into my actual opinions on where IOTA currently is. So you may have seen recently that one of my tweets that I did when I came back it went viral, and it could have been seen as criticizing. It's probably a little bit controversial in the way that I posted it, but what really surprised me was sort of the depth of people that started talking about these topics, because there was almost like a flowing out of, I wouldn't say emotion, but just a flowing out, and I think maybe other people were feeling the same way, but they just seen it as this is their opportunity now to speak up as well. And I just want to say that, you know, obviously the topic ultimately ended up talking about the IOTA Foundation's communication, and basically Dom even came out in the end and said how he felt that they could be communicating better with the community and the community devs, etc. And I just want to say that I'm not blaming a single person at all. Like, I'm never like that. I don't like the blame game. It's not a single person's fault. I don't think it's productive to put the blame and pressure on people. At the end of the day, we just raise our issues, we work out solutions, and we move towards them. So I think that's the best way to do it. So yeah, if there's one thing I want you to take from this video, it's this first point. I think this is really what frustrated me when I did my tweet, is, okay, you've got great tech, but tech is really actually like the bare minimum in this space. Like, really, building a network is the key goal here. It's not building tech, it's building a network. And a network needs users. And there's a reason why, you know, you watch all these other, you know, investment companies, you watch YouTubers, you watch anyone in this space, and there's things that they constantly focus on when they like compare chains, and it's always stuff like, you know, daily active addresses, how many wallets, TVL, transactions per second volume. And what these things are really analyzing is the network being used? That's the one key question that everyone is trying to solve, is how do we attract people to the network? How do we get use in the network? So really, you know, the tech is the bare minimum here. And really the IF should be focusing more on, rather being in a research and a tech company, is a network building company. And I feel like the IF, they sometimes lose track of that. And they go into their little hole, and they're very clever, and they're working and they're cooking in the kitchen, you know, insert the Heisenberg meme here of him cooking, but they then lose track of building the community. And look, I'm not saying that they need to be giving us content creators like special information or even like, you know, the community information. But the one thing that really shocked me about after my tweet, that I didn't even realize this was the case, was there's actually a lot of community developers and community projects that don't seem to be aware of what's going on behind the scenes. They haven't been given any ETAs. They don't know when the Shimmer EVM's ready. Some of them are running low on funds. And that actually really shocked me, because I always just presumed, to be honest, that, okay, they're not telling the actual community what's going on behind the scenes until they release something. But, at least the community devs know what's going on. They're allowed to prepare. And, Touchpoint's this magical place where all the devs are constantly exchanging information. But to be honest, I actually feel like it isn't like that. Well, it certainly hasn't been for the last couple of months. And there's been a lot of people in the dark. And of course, we get Dave's updates, which are great. But again, those as well, they're not quite regular. And sometimes I just get the impression that it's almost like they just do them because they feel they have to. It's not because they're actually excited to update the community or they want to keep the community engaged. It's almost just like an additional activity, a task they need to tick off from their job that day. And yeah, I think that's a bit of a shame, because as I say, keeping the community engaged, getting the developers passionate about the project is one of the free ways, and bear in mind the IOTA Foundation doesn't have unlimited funds, that they can start building the user base. Because I can't remember what it was, but I had a guest on one of my episodes, and he said that basically one of the key, it was someone from Touchpoint, I think it was Austin, and he said the key thing that other projects are looking for in moving to IOTA is basically like volume and transactions, because obviously, they want to go to networks where there's lots of transactions and users. It's a bit like if you're looking to set up a restaurant. Do you build a restaurant in the middle of a field in the middle of nowhere, or do you build it in a mall where there's lots of footfall, there's lots of other restaurants in the area, and that people can come to your restaurant as well? So yeah, just to dial it back to what I was saying, that building the network needs to be the IOTA Foundation's number one goal. Every single user that they can add or they can gain to the net ecosystem is more value to the ecosystem. And it's like a snowball effect, because the more users you have, the more attractive it is that other people join. Again, just to go back to the restaurant analogy, if you're walking by a restaurant and the restaurant's super busy, that restaurant suddenly looks attractive to you because you're like, wow, there's a lot of people going there, it must be nice. Whereas if the restaurant's dead, you don't want to be the first person to come into the restaurant. So, and now I'm getting hungry just talking about restaurants all the time. But yeah, this is the key point, that they need to build the user base. And if the IF want to get back into the top 20, the tech is just the minimum. They need to go over and above to build the volume, the activity on the network. And that means engaging with the user base and getting them involved. Because if you just drop like the Shimmer EVM out of nowhere, and you're like, hey, there you go guys, we've been working on this for a year, here it is, and it's now released. It's probably going to take another year. Even if you then go ham now on like the user interactions, the marketing, it's going to take another year, another 2 years to build up that network. When you could be getting people involved now, and I know people are going to go, oh, well, look, the GitHub, if you check that, whatever, you can actually see the updates. But this is my whole point. You need to build the user base. And guess what? The vast majority of the users don't understand GitHub. They just don't understand it. So that's just a fact of life. So you can either just keep pushing them to that and just hope they understand it, which isn't going to happen, or you can think of a solution where you get everybody engaged. Everybody feels part of the network because they're seeing it grow. It's like a little seedling growing. Look at Amazon. They're just constantly trying to work out ways to make life easier for users, whether it's like Amazon Prime with the free delivery, the Amazon like essential things, like all these Apple, Amazon, the top companies, their focus is the user and not even really the tech. The tech's what they deliver to the users, but the user and keeping them happy is the most important thing. And again, I think the IOTA Foundation lose that sometimes. And not, it's too fair, again, I don't want to blame the IOTA Foundation, because it's the same with a lot of crypto. People kind of get up their own ass about how clever they are of the tech, and they forget that they're still subject to the same economic rules as everybody else and all the other businesses, that you can't just do what you want and forget about the customer. So yeah, and just another, before I forget, another point on this. So as you all be aware, the IF, probably due to partly the bear market, decided to spin off a load of different arms of the company, and their now vision is that they're just going to sort of build the base layer and do all the research, and it's now up to the community to build out all the sort of infrastructure on layer 2s on top, which I think in and of itself isn't actually a bad idea, because, you know, at the end of the day, this is meant to be a decentralized DeFi system. So that kind of makes sense, but the problem is they did that, but then they basically didn't keep the communication up. So I don't know how you can expect the community and the community devs especially to build on top of IOTA when they have no idea of when updates are going to drop. Like, how can people plan? Like, this is, you know, businesses need runways, they need business plans. So I really think, you know, the IOTA Foundation, if they want to go down that route of, you know, basically outsourcing everything to everybody else, then guess what? Your communication is going to have to be on point. You're going to have to be updating people regularly so they can plan. You can't just keep the communication the same. So actually, I think that's one of the, maybe when we talk about the communication issues, that's actually one of the key points. And now it's coming to what I was wanting to get to with this video is ETAs. And yeah, look guys, I'm going to make no secret about this. I'm 110% team ETA. ETAs need to come back. I'm telling you now, since ETAs have gone away, we've dropped from maybe the top 20 to the top 80. So, and I'm saying honestly, I don't think it's a coincidence. I think there's a reason it's happened, is because basically people are just less engaged if there's not a deadline of when something's going to drop. Imagine if somebody's working on a game and they're just like, hey guys, we're building this cool game, but we just have no idea when it's going to drop. Then you're just not going to really pay much attention to it until it, you know, just before it drops. So I think that is a massive ball that the IF have dropped, to be honest. You can't push people away effectively and say, or push functions away, but then not update people on the core function. So yes, guys, I'm saying now that IOTA will not return to the top 20 until ETAs are back. Honestly, that's what I feel. I really think it's that important that they need to do something to start building hype, start getting people more engaged. And when I say people, I don't just mean like investors, users, whatever you want to call them. I also mean community developers. Look, if I'm starting up a business and I'm risking a lot of money up front, my time to set up a business, I'm not going to build on something where I don't know when the thing I'm building on is even going to be finished. Like, you need to communicate with them. You need to regularly update them. And so to have that, you need your own ETAs. And you need to stick relatively tight to the ETAs, or at least communicate people there's going to be delays. So ETAs are super important, not just for us users, but also the community devs. So they need to bring ETAs back if it was up to me personally. Now, people may totally disagree with me in this, and if you do, please do drop a comment below. I'd love to hear your opinions on this. And look, I'm not saying that you need to, you know, give an ETA and deliver, and if you don't deliver, everyone goes crazy. In fact, quite the opposite. It is an estimated time of arrival, okay? So it's just estimated, but as long as you update people in terms of, you know, say if you go, okay, we're going to deliver something by the end of Q3, and mid-Q3 internally it's quite clear you're not going to meet that deadline, then just update people. And, you know, I think people don't mind too much. So obviously, you know, people investing in risky, cutting-edge tech, we understand there is going to be delays. So I think delays itself isn't the problem. It's if you delay something and just don't communicate, and then 6 months pass and people start going, wait, where was this thing you said you were going to deliver 6 months ago? Okay, I want to keep this video reasonably short, so I'll quickly move on to my next point, which is sometimes you get the impression that there's almost too many moving parts going on with the IF. So we've got obviously the Shimmer network now, the Shimmer EVM. We've got Quadricide that's going on, IOTA 2.0, and all these new features that's eventually going to make its way to the IOTA mainnet. And then we've got assembly, and I think assembly is just really symptomatic of the IF's approach in recent times, where they come up with these great concepts and these great ideas, and it's almost like they release them to the world too early, as if they're ready to go, when they're nowhere near ready to go. And I think that's actually what causes a lot of confusion and frustration with the community, because even, for example, at the moment we've got the assembly staking and people are gaining hundreds of thousands of these assembly tokens, and yet if you actually look into the communications from the IF, the tokens, basically they're no further ahead with the assembly from what I can gather. There was some investment from some VCs a year or two ago, but then obviously the market dropped out the ass and the VCs have put that money on hold. And there's basically been no progress on that. And from what I understand, they need smart contracts on IOTA mainnet. And that's probably another year or two away at least. And then you're going to have to build this separate network. That's another year or two. So for me, assembly, I mean, I could be wrong here. This is one where the IF can happy for them to drop in my comments and state I'm talking bullshit here. But it seems to me that it's going to be 2 to 3, maybe even 4 years away, really, until we start seeing assembly. So from this to be initially announced and for us to be staking tokens now, it seems really premature. And I think sometimes, again, it's just they jump with these concepts and it's just not quite ready yet. So I suppose that does feed into the communication of, getting that communication right. When's the right time to communicate something? And even myself, I'm really not too sure. I personally get the impression that even the IF don't quite know what assembly is. So this really ties into the roadmap. I really would like to see a lot more detailed roadmap of exactly what the IOTA is planning and why. But yeah, anyways, I've babbled on too much now. It's probably coming up to half an hour, I don't know, so I want to stop there. And I do want to end on a positive note. I said the Shimmer EVM is dropping soon, and yeah, there's still a lot of exciting things going on. This whole fiasco with my tweet, it really did show that the IOTA Foundation do listen to the community. They did respond. As I said, I kind of have access to the Touchpoint Discord, and a lot of there was IOTA Foundation members in there, and they were getting involved in the discussions. There was community developers speaking up. So it was a really great insight into seeing how it all works, and how having these hard conversations did seem to raise some important topics. Now, nothing's actually been delivered yet, so we need to see how the IOTA Foundation responds to that, but I'm certainly going to keep an open mind to see how they respond. And yeah, I'm certainly not going to be selling, personally for me anyways, I'm not going to be selling any IOTA. I'm still on the train. I'm still waiting for that 4 end of year pump, that spec week you love so much. And yeah, so that's where we are. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed the video. As I said, let me know your thoughts and comments on the below. Did you agree? Did you disagree? And I'm off to find a restaurant because I'm now starving. Anyways, guys, have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video.